Hello and welcome to this bonus episode of the Weapons and Warfare podcast from Straight Arrow News, and today we're talking about the MindGym. Built by the people at Lumena Labs, the MindGym is breaking new ground in the field of mental fitness. If you haven't seen or heard our story on the MindGym in the March 6th episode of Weapons and Warfare, I would highly encourage you to hit pause on this, check out that story, then come back to where you left off. To learn how they got to where they are today, I sat down with Lumena's Vice President of Product, Stetson Jenkins, as well as CEO Pamela Glick and the Head of Growth, Brandon Murphy.
First question is really easy. Just go ahead and say and spell your name.
Yeah, my name is Stetson Jenkins. That's STETSONJENKINS.
Talk to me about how much your role has changed over the years. You created the MindGym. You're the guy, right?
Lumena came to be through the founder, Caleb Mattson, who's a good friend of mine. We worked on a couple of projects back in the day together, and ultimately he showed me the original glass version of the MindGym. At that point, it was not called the MindGym. It was not called Lumena. It was a company called Lux, and that was a simple understanding of the brightness of light and what it could do. Fascinated with the ability for optical illusion and what that does to the mind and the subconscious, I was very compelled to do something. I asked Caleb, where can I help? He was pulling this thing around in a trailer and had no idea what it was. Anything from Buddhist temples to South by Southwest to desert retreats, just art exhibits, had no idea. But I experienced a session back in the day called Sacred Journey, which was a simulation of space and galaxies, and it blew me away. And so with that, I said, how can I help? And he says, I need someone to build this. And I immediately jumped on that. I had a full-time job in the IT world, was just starting a family, and hadn't been compelled in many years to do something that I knew would touch people and would help people. So kind of took off on that journey, did a two full-time job gig, did everything that we could to grab a bill of materials and reduce that. It was quite pricey when we first got it out of an initial design phase and figuring out how to reduce to get it places. But ultimately jumped into manufacturing and building our original version, seeing all of the different pieces that needed to be refined, anything from this size nut to this size bolt difference, and then knowing its capabilities going forward. So looking into a future of being able to sound isolate the experience and amplify everything from audio quality to the overall darkness of MindGym as you originally step into it. So,
I know engineers are never really done tinkering. So, at what point do you think, it's going to be, done, right? I mean, what is there a way that you're going to be able to say, you know what, now I can step away?
For sure. For me personally, the experience is it's rather simple and profound. So insofar as how people interact with the Lumena MindGym, it's pretty much there. There's an aesthetic aspect. I believe that every part of our company should be an experience, whether it's an email from us or the website or opening and closing a door on a giant cube. For me, the personal goal that I have is for this to be accessible to anyone and everywhere. Just not be a financial hurdle. And so for me, value engineering is where it's at. Right now I use some pretty complicated and fantastic software for lighting. It's professional grade. It helps us learn everything that we want to do. And ultimately, I know that I can run this off of a Raspberry Pi. So the goal is to take the expense of that and continue to reduce. We just launched version 2 of MindGym, and that was 1,000% reduction in price of our frame. So just in material cost, I took it from many thousands of dollars to a few $100s. Yes, there's a bit of labor, a little more labor involved in that, but it's all scalable and doable in-house. And so for me, the value engineering aspect is getting this to a place where I can give the MindGym away to a children's hospital or a school or a low-income neighborhood and have this in the back of a trailer for teletherapy, et cetera. So,
why? I mean, why? Explain your desire to give that experience to the world.
I think as humans, we really get caught up in everything that's around us. Everything is and can be a distraction. And the world is pretty powerful at throwing those at us. My solitude is in the middle of the wilderness. No cell service, no lights. That's where I enjoy being. I grew up on the water, and I gave the ocean away and took the mountains instead. And there's a lot of power in that. I think that there's a lot of healing that comes in being quiet and still, not having a lot of things bombard us. I think that's really important to share. I have a couple of young boys. I see their experiences inside of MindGym where it's awe and wonder, but it's subdued and their minds flourish. I believe that that's universal. There's a few things that I'll use that word universal for, and this experience is universal in my opinion. It drives me every day to be able to share it. Because it can change you. It's not what I build, it's the intention that a human brings inside of what I build. And I have opened the door too many times to know that it's incredible. There's a lot of science behind what we do. We study cognitive states, we study simple biometrics like heart rate variability, and I know that we can change those in a positive direction. There's also a lot of mystery. There's so much mystery to this that maybe we'll figure them out. Some of those questions, maybe we won't. And I think that that's universal as well. There's a lot of calculated aspects that we can go through in life and learn and be better at. And at the same time, like, why does that rainbow strike us every time we see it? Like, what really is that? Is it the light coming into the cones of our eyes? No. It's beauty.
You mentioned earlier when you encourage people to go in, naked, leave your cell phone out, leave your watch out. Why? Can you kind of expand on that idea on why you encourage that?
Sure. So everything in life has weight to it, whether we're aware of it or not. Most of the weight that we experience is our own perception-based suffering and stresses. It's like, is this thing that I'm stressed out about really as heavy as I'm giving it power? There's a lot of weight in our wallet and our watch and our phone that none of us have any real understanding of until you, on purpose, set it aside and walk away from it. And you see those things over there. It's my ID, my connection to the world. There's a lot there, and that hard separation does something in the brain. It releases you to yourself. So in my experience, what I've seen through many people setting those things down, because we've played with how do you give someone an experience in MindGym? Like, you experienced it in a very different, interesting environment. I've been in luxury spas where the whole thing is catered to this 15-minute experience, bookend with half an hour pre, half an hour post, right? Or a convention floor, very different, very fast. That separation of those simple items does something that I've been able to notice, and it does it really well. It allows you a breath into yourself and the ability to think way deeper than all this stuff in our standard reality consciousness and start to very quickly interact with our subconscious. The things that come to a person's mind visually, because the brain, when not stimulated, is trying to stimulate, trying to make up things, trying to fill in the blanks. And so in a lot of darkness, calm, you can see the person that you really need to actually have a conversation with. You can see yourself. You can see your kid. You can see perspective shift, where it's like, man, everything in my life is so focused on X. Like, is that really the true meaning? Is that what I should be putting my heart and mind into? And so taking away those simple things is, in my opinion, the first step, and it's powerful. I've seen it over and over. People do not like leaving there, especially their phone. Yeah. And that's okay. It doesn't matter if it's a little uncomfortable, because the realm in which we can very quickly sink into is where I think a lot of people should spend more of their time. Having clarity in your subconscious brings super clarity to your reality.
Something you said earlier, you're not going to make it goggles. You're not going to try to put a screen in front of somebody's face. Can you kind of recount what you were talking about earlier and why you're creating this type of experience and not that type?
Sure. We have a lot of exposure to screen, to blue light, to intense visual stimuli. Even the black screen of a VR device is still a screen. There's nothing on it. Your brain might not be processing an image, but it's still being bombarded by those rays, essentially. Taking that away allows your mind and your eyes to loosen. We have a term called softening your gaze, and it's a meditative space, a meditative state in which you're peering, but you're not focusing. You're letting your visual hover in between trying to make sense of something that's out there in front of you and connecting it to what's inside of you as well. So, and there's also there's an aspect of it that it's part of the mystery of this. A simple tagline is, step inside, the destination is you. Because that's all it is. Without you, this is a box of mirrors with an incredible audio-visual experience. But it's the intention of open eye, look around, maybe see yourself, maybe see the void of yourself, maybe see nothing at all. But it doesn't pull you out of the experience. The longer you sit with your eyes open in a very dark space, the further and further and further you see. And that just deepens whatever thought pattern that you're in, whatever you're dealing with. I've opened the door and it's like, we'll leave you in there for a little longer, let you cook a little longer, because it's a comfortable place. So we did our tests, took an entire experience, took a handful of them, great 360 camera, set it right inside of MindGym, got the whole thing, popped it right into a nice VR, and what's missing? You. So there's no magic. There isn't the power there, because you're missing yourself. And without that, without being able to see that and be aware of the entity that you call you, there's nothing there. And I don't have anything else to share. So that would be my sum up for why I won't do screens. Not to say that there isn't power there. Like, I've done rear projection onto Mylar, specifically black and white. I'm very fascinated. I have experience working with Alzheimer's patients in the past. Old audio and black and white video, fascinating, instantaneous portal to younger years for people's minds that are gone. I'm super fascinated in exploring that, but it still wouldn't be quite a screen. It would be a projection. I think the screens overall, until I can find more evidence than I've been able to acquire as to why they would benefit our experience, we'll probably shy away from them.
I want to kind of talk about a little bit of the nuts and bolts of MindGym too. It's Mylar, what is it, 12 by 12 by?
It's a 7 by 7 foot cube,
okay.
Roughly, an inch short of that actually. 7 by 7 foot cube. Compared to version 1, which was a really nice CNC'd aluminum frame that had its structural rigidity issues and its cost. We went to a fully in-house designed mild steel frame, which is off the shelf available essentially from any local metal provider, which is huge. I ended up in a bottleneck years ago of trying to get this aluminum in for orders, and its origin was in Germany, and it needed to be processed in Florida and then shipped to here, and it wasn't the way, as well as the aluminum stretches. It has a bit of flex to it. And so I needed to build something that was not so expensive and didn't require so much work to actually pre-manufacture what we build. The idea was mild steel because it's strong, it's relatively inexpensive. There were certain challenges to working with it. I myself am not a welder per se, so figuring out how to build those processes to make this streamlined. And then it's the ability to innovate as well. When I had an aluminum frame, I couldn't do but so much. I had very small amounts of tolerance with getting things square, getting things right and tight. And our version 2 was, how do I build a modular system in which, say we're in a really loud place, instead of having the walls flush, I could push them out and have twice as much sound isolation. Or I want to pop in different LEDs or a different style of lighting. I needed that space in between the walls to be able to do that. And then the innovation aspect of how do we design something, and then as Musk says, go back in the last 20% and reduce, cut. So we built an entire process for bolting this together, and had an idea about a month ago that we just executed, and actually the unit that you guys experienced has 0 bolts. It's held together by tension, and that is massive. You know, like for us to grow, I can't be everywhere building these all of the time. And so now I get to work into what we do, a process for, here's a flat packed crate, and here's a very simple set of instructions, and anyone can do it. So we just reduced a massive amount of process because I'm working with a material that I can manage. I can't really weld aluminum. I'm certainly not that good. But being able to play around with the things that we want to add or take away overall. I would say that's the main difference between that. Our head engineer, Wyatt, massive contribution from him for the actual design. We started off with one style of steel, and it was a disaster. And we realized we had to start all over again, you know, and we're still on a time frame for the beginning of 2024 to have this launched, and we scrapped it about a month and a half before the end of the year and started over. And I'm so proud and stoked at what we were able to pull off. Lots of thought, lots of back and forth, playing with every piece of material that we can get our hands on, and designing something that, ultimately now stands up super fast, tears down if it needs to be moved, much safer. And one of the biggest issues that I had in version 1 because of the aluminum is opening and closing the door. And so as whether it's noticed or not noticed, it ends up being noticed. The first version, when you close the door, it had a nice thump, like a magnetic thump to it. And our main creative director, Scott, speaking to him recently, he's like, man, I'm so excited to hear that door. And I was like, no, that's the thing. It's not a hear anymore. It's a feeling. It's a silent closure, which arguably building a box is not that hard of a design parameter. But building a box in which you take the structure of an entire side off of and put it on a pivot point, and that thing weighs 100 pounds, it's like, how do we do that without everything in physics pulling and distorting this simple cube? So, and we've nailed it. So,
pretty exciting, right?
Oh, it's so exciting. It's because this is a huge step for us to get this everywhere. You know, it normally takes a day and a half, we'll say, for version 1, and we're getting this down to a few hours of being able to pop this up, and it could stay there or it could tear down at the same time. There's no difference. So all those little things don't seem like much, but it's countless hours of figuring out how to see something that Lumena is way bigger than myself. Lumena is way bigger than all of us. and being able to work towards a goal of taking something that we know is way bigger than us and being able to make a product that can get shipped to any base or a school or hospital or wherever, and it be built by other people, that makes me really excited.
Next, I joined Pam Glick, who joined Lumena as they were looking to take the next step in bringing the MindGym to potential new clients.
You weren't with the company when it was created. Why did you want to join and be a part of this company?
Well, I originally was looking to make some investments into some early stage companies. I had exited my prior software company about a year in advance of that. Took a little bit of time off and decided to look for some investments as I was looking for what I was going to do next. Really wasn't planning on jumping in an early stage company again, but as I evaluated Lumena and what they were doing, I was pretty blown away by what they were doing. And I spent a lot of time, because it wasn't a space that I had spent a lot of time in, so I did a fair amount of due diligence and really trying to understand what this was and the impact that they were looking to make, and was really very, again, blown away by what it was that they were doing. I felt like they had a really high potential to make a huge impact in the mental health, the mental fitness space. I talked to all their advisors. I researched the market, the space. I looked at what others were doing versus what Lumena was doing. Had the opportunity to meet with some of the customers that they had, and also go on site and see the impact that this experience was having towards helping our military professionals with learning how to, thrive in high-stress environments, and the impact of cognitive performance improvement, as well as the very important task of driving, mental resilience, mental recovery. And just felt that, the company had the ability to make a huge impact on the world. They lacked the experience of someone who knew how to grow and scale a company of their size, and just felt this was a really great way for me to give back. So I did what I said I wasn't going to do, and I jumped in and took over the company.
When you came on and jumped back in, did what you said you weren't going to do. Over the last couple of years, you've really helped grow the company beyond maybe anything that those early folks thought was possible. Where are we going next? Where do you hope to take Lumena next?
Yeah, so, when I jumped in, one of the things that I recognized was that, we had very great success in the SIBR project that we had completed in terms of proving the efficacy and the efficiency and the impact that we were bringing to the airmen. And but what I also recognized was that we didn't really have a product that could be mass distributed yet. We really needed to scale it to be able to deliver it with the quality that we wanted to have. So when I first came in, I kind of pivoted the company to let's raise money, invest in the tech, both the physical composition of the box as well as the software used to support it. So we've just launched version 2 of that, where we now feel comfortable that we can really scale it, support it with the level of quality that we'd want to have, and continue to evolve it, but be able to get it out there in a greater way. So when we were working to scale it, we were very cautious about where in the Air Force we were going to sell it. We were fortunate to get it into 7 of the 9 major commands of the Air Force, which we felt really great about. And now that we've got it scaled, we're looking to expand it within each of those bases. We also now feel comfortable with identifying other areas where we want to make impact, because this is still early stage. It's important for us to, stay focused and continue to grow in a in a structured, way. So we are looking at expanding first outside of the military into commercial aviation. There's a very good parallels between what we're doing with the Air Force and what other commercial airlines need. They have the same challenge that the Air Force has, where they've got a lot of pilots that are having to mandatorily retire due to age limits, and they're trying to grow to meet demand. And they have the challenge of there's no way for them to replace the experience that they're going to lose with the pilots that are retiring. So we are looking to bring this same resilience program that we're bringing to the Air Force to commercial aviation, where there's a lot of stress, there's a lot of burnout, and it's, there's no way for them to replace the experience that's going to be lost. So how do they keep them at a high level of mental acuity and mental resilience to try to, somewhat counterbalance that lack of experience? So that's really where we look to expand next and have some great traction there. The other area that we're looking to pilot is into these whole health clinics that have a combination of ketamine and hyperbaric chambers and therapy, et cetera, as another component to bring this technology into that. We are researching our ability to at least decrease the dosage that may be required from a ketamine perspective. In some early studies that we've done, it seems to amplify the effect of ketamine, so perhaps a lower dosage or, longer term, we're working with our neuroscientists to see if we can create what we're calling a technodelic, a non-pharmacological intervention or non-pharmacological psychedelic, so being able to create the same type of an effect or a similar effect of what you can get with psilocybin, but without the drugs, using the MindGym at the center of the experience, combining it with perhaps some haptics and chill devices to get into a similar altered state of consciousness to build new neural pathways. So that's another exciting area that we're currently looking at as we continue to expand the impact that, or where we take Lumena next, if you will.
What did you do before? You were a software company?
So I spent many years in consulting where I did business process optimization, strategy, technology work. Then I had my own, software technology company. When
you were building that and did you ever think that you would be creating and helping to sell a device to provide non-pharmacological altered states? It's shrooms, but it's electric. You know what I mean? Did you ever think that this would be your new calling? No, I did not. But I think almost everybody has been impacted by mental health, in some way, and we all have our own personal experiences, So this is something that once I got into it and really researched it, it really pulled at me, as something that I. In talking to our advisors, our neuroscientists, customers, et cetera, I realized at the time we probably, we don't have it all figured out yet, but I saw enough people and talked to enough people who had had such a profound experience with this that I really felt there was something here and that there was something that could, really help the world. So I didn't want to let the company die, I wanted to get it out there and make it available. I really think that the world needs this, and I'm, bound and determined to figure it out, to get it out there. So it seems like you're on the cusp of achieving that. Yeah. Would you think that's accurate? Yeah, I really do. When you jump into an early stage company, a lot of times you have a lot of headwinds, and we definitely have had our headwinds, but I've been amazed by the really great connections and networks I've made that really make me feel the opposite. I've had these, somebody pushing me, along, so I've made some really great connections, by happenstance, and that I think is going to help us, continue to be successful as a company. So I'm super excited about it.
Lastly, I spoke with Brandon Murphy, Lumena's head of growth, and the man responsible for each new installation at Air Force bases around the world.
So Brandon, you have more time logged in the MindGym than anyone else on the planet.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it's got to be, I would imagine. Maybe Stetson could try to compete with me a bit, but I've been in there every day for the past 5 years, so I would imagine 400 or 500 hours of my life inside that big white box.
And you're a civilian.
Yep.
So Lumena is really marketing to the Air Force right now, but the plan is to eventually make the MindGym available to everyone.
Yeah.
As a civilian who uses it the most, how important is that?
Oh, I mean, it's huge, and it's kind of incredible to think about the fact that, to your point, I'm not military, but yet here I am all over the world on all these bases showing these people what I've experienced, and then knowing where we're going, ultimately out of the SIBR program, their whole goal is eventually we can grow out of the DoD. So to me, I just want to put as many people and faces inside of this thing to see what they can do. And I imagine eventually we'll be in professional sports. You know, my boss Pam had mentioned we're going into commercial aviation next. I think we'll be in clinics, airports, gyms. And I wish I could be in every single one of those, but I know that's probably not going to happen. But yeah.
When you tell people what you do for a living,
Yeah.
that you work for a company that makes giant mirrored cubes that create an altered state, what kind of reactions do you get?
Yeah, a lot of raised eyebrows. It's kind of a hard thing to explain, and it can be a little exhausting at times. So sometimes I just say I work as a DoD contractor. But yeah, no, I mean, it's like, hey, we build big magic boxes that, give people an awe-inspiring feeling and the ability to maybe access a state that they would have never known was inside of them.
The fact that it's non-pharmacological, like no drugs.
No drugs, yep.
How much does that bring credibility to the movement that it's, you can alter your state without altering what you put into your body?
When you look at things like the psychedelic movement, what psychedelics do is they're just altering things that are already going on inside of your body, right? So it's an interesting thing to think about. And with the neuroscientists that we work with, they believe that they can replicate 90 to 95%, maybe 100% of what's beneficial about a psychedelic ceremony, all empowered by technology and, AI.
Yeah.
So to be able to extend another thing to maybe populations that either can't interact with those pharmacological interventions or they're, in the military or commercial aviation, to be able to give someone some percentage of the benefit of something like that is, huge. And we've been seeing that with, it's like a lot of the origin story for some of us here have never even thought about something like that.
Yeah.
But we've been moved by the thing that we build and have been opened up to this whole other world. As I think you see the world is now kind of waking up to maybe there's some benefits to these things.
Yeah.
So we're trying to be on the technological side. And then I think there's another area for us in the future where perhaps we don't fully replace it, but we can reduce the amount of the dose of the drug that's needed.
Yeah.
You see ketamine as a therapy being used in the treatment of PTSD for veterans now. And it's also a very intense drug. So if we can replace that, or if we can at least reduce the dose needed to have an effective impact on a person, I'll die happy for sure.
When you are on Air Force bases, military installations, and you're pitching this MindGym, what are some of the reactions that you get?
Again, a lot of really raised eyebrows, and sometimes people are scared because they don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
But, we have a phrase called like opening the door for somebody, which I got to do with you. You see your reaction when you got to experience it. And I've seen everything from, some sleepy faces to some really joyful faces to some people with tears in their eyes. Everywhere from, this helped me manage my stress to this helped me feel more connected to my God. It's like a whole range of reactions.
We had at the show, you had a bunch of Air Force chaplains come by.
Yeah. No, it's amazing. I think, there's something mystical about what we do. And for people like that, they are really drawn to being able to reach, maybe a younger generation. And we have the ability to do that with just kind of how awe-inspiring our experience is. So, yeah, I think they're gonna liken to this pretty quickly.
If you had, one opportunity, seize the moment, right? What would you tell people about why something like the MindGym is so necessary in today's world?
Something that I think about a lot is we are in a huge influx of technology and being further and further embedded into our society.
Yeah.
And while we are a tech company, we are building a real thing. And I think that's super important when you see things like the Apple Viz Pro and the further drive to being like augmented and virtual reality. Yeah. We're building something that people can bring their whole isness into. And ultimately, even though, again, we are a technological company, we're building a very low sensory, a very low stimulation, very restorative, arguably healthy way to interact with technology, which I'm not seeing as being the motive of most other tech companies right now. It's all about, like, how do we get people further addicted to using this thing and a lot less care for, what is the healthiest approach to use our technology.
That's it for this bonus edition of Weapons and Warfare. Until next time, thanks for listening.